Hey, we're here at Gator Studios. I'm John Briggs. With me, Mike Huber, and we're doubling down on Gator Base efficiencies today.
Doubling down? Isn't Gator Base already efficient?
Oh, we've learned a lot since we've come out with Gator Base.
Right. We want to share some of those tips and tricks with you so that you can get them from us and hit the ground running rather than have to learn them on your own.
Sure. You know what? It's way easier to learn from our mistakes than it is to learn from your own.
John's got a long history of mistakes, but no kidding. He's a great rep. We've got reps all across the country that can help you on your first Gator Base jobs, or even, hey, your second Gator Base job if it has some of these tricky situations.
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, some of these things we're going to talk about were right up front, day one.
All right.
So.
Well, we've got a great little video that highlights some contractors that are sharing how Gator Base works for them. So let's play that video real quick, and then we'll get into a few of these scenarios where we can share our experience and make these applications that might be a little bit tricky for Gator Base perfectly simple for you.
How much time do you spend maintaining your aggregate pile on the road? Between sweeping, digging trenches behind at the curb, pushing it around, dealing with the local municipal government who doesn't like your pile of aggregate on the road. All those things take time on a job. All those things are factored into your bid price. Gator Base cuts down on all of that stuff collectively and definitely saves time and money.
Excavation's getting harder and harder to get rid of and find places for, especially the closer you get to the city. So now using the Gator Base is saving us a lot of time and money with finding places to get rid of dirt.
I'm trying to reduce labor, so the less digging I have to do, the better. I only really need 2 guys on a site other than an excavation. So if I can save a whole person and not need them for an excavation, it's a dream.
All right, so great video. Gator Base is working for those guys, and it can definitely work for you. I mean, you're not necessarily going to use Gator Base on every job, are you, John?
Correct. We're not going to be able to use Gator Base on every job. But as we've gone forward, we found out more ways to use Gator Base.
Right, and one of those is an area where you have grade change, right? Typically, you've got to bring in a lot of stone to build up that grade, but with Gator Base, we might be able to save you a little bit of work.
Yep, going to save some time, being efficient.
So what do we have here? We've got a backyard sloping away from the house. That's good for drainage, but not so good for a flat patio, right?
Right. We're going to have to meet that grade somehow.
Somehow. So every excavation, every project starts by taking that turf away, right? We're going to remove our grass and excavate, get rid of the organic material. So we'll have John.
This happens to be an easy one.
Excavate. Wish all jobs went that smoothly. All right, so now we have our native soil here. And
high point, low point.
If I wanted to level this out, what if I just dug some of the material from the high point and threw it on the low side?
Not for a hardscape installation, for sure.
Why not?
Well, rule of thumb, any of that soil that you're excavating has to go off the job.
Right. Once you excavate soil from the high side or anywhere for that matter, it's loose and fluffy, and it's not going to compact as densely as it was when it was sitting in the ground for decades.
Right.
So we need to get rid of that material that John will excavate from the high side there, compact, and then build up our low side with compactable fill material, so a crushed stone.
So we're going to bring in some aggregate.
A little bit of aggregate, right?
Now, using Gator Base, traditionally we're taught we don't need to have that aggregate.
Right, so Gator Base saves you 6 inches of excavation and 6 inches of crushed compacted stone, but if you need to bring up the low side of a project, you'll use some aggregate. Now, you'll reach a balance point at a certain point, which we'll touch on next, but heck, you can save a lot of time and effort if you're only building up a small area with crushed stone rather than that whole foundation.
Right. Should we get to it?
Let's start digging here. So as you dig that out, we're going to take material away from the high side to get to the actual level grade that we want our patio to sit on. Remember, Gator Base needs about 4 inches from the native soil to the top of a typical 2 3/8 or 60 millimeter paver. So John's going to level out the high side here for us, and I'm going to smooth it out because John's not the most careful excavator here.
Hey now.
All right. So we've got this leveled out pretty nicely. We still have a little bit of a slope. We want to bring our patio all the way out to here.
Right.
So let's compact that soil. We always compact our native soils after excavation. And then we will lay in a fabric, a non-woven GF 4.4. That gives us great soil separation and great drainage characteristics. So John's got everything compacted. We're going to lay in our fabric here. And that fabric is going to wrap up the sides of our excavation, any concrete, any curbing up against the side of a house, prevent material from migrating away.
Yep, fill the hole, cover the sides.
So normally we would put down our screed pipe and screed off sand or chip here as our setting bed for Gator Base, but we still have that slope to deal with, right?
Yep.
What are we going to do? Crush stone, right?
Bring in some
Some of that aggregate, and let's level that off and compact it. So John's going to dump out some aggregate. I'm going to smooth it out to the proper grade to give us a nice even height on our patio. So we'll smooth this out. So what is that break point? You know, where do you make that choice to say, hey, I'm going to do a full traditional install, or Gator Base still makes sense?
Well, would we say that 6 inches that Gator Base takes the replaces? Would that be the cutoff point, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere around there, right? If you're already going to do 5 inches of crushed compacted stone to raise up half your project, then maybe you want to consider a traditional install. But if it's just a third of it that you're putting 2 or 3 inches of crushed stone, Gator Base still wins.
Perfect.
So we would compact this, we would screed out our sand or chip setting bed, lay our Gator Base right down on that corrected grade, and build our patio.
So we're ready to put Gator Base on this?
Well, we'd screed off our sand or chip, but yep, ready to put Gator Base on after
Perfect.
we compact that native soil. Another question that we commonly get is, how do I extend an existing concrete slab, you know, pool deck, small patio, and make it bigger?
Right.
Can I use Gator Base for that application?
For sure, but we've got to take some steps first.
Right. We have our typical concrete pad here, right? So say it's a small little concrete pad in the back of a townhouse. What do we do with that concrete slab? It's great to overlay Gator Base on that concrete slab, but we do need to allow some drainage, right?
Yep.
Water always gets into a project. It works its way in through the sides, through the joints a little bit. Gator Base is permeable. It has channels to allow through drainage and transverse drainage. We need to give that water somewhere to go, right?
Sure, and as always, we're going to follow ICPI guidelines.
Right, and those guidelines are what? A little, half-inch hole every 20 or 30 feet on the
Half-inch hole isn't
project?
going to do it. And if you already have pavers on the job and you're sticking a drill bit down in between your joints to get your drainage, that's not going to work.
No, it's not going to cut it. What we need are very large drain holes. We're going to do 2-inch core drilled drain holes at least every 10 feet, any areas where water can gather.
Right.
So we need to make sure that water can get out from underneath that concrete slab as our first step for a Gator Base concrete overlay. Next, we're going to extend that, right, into the grass area here. So what happens when we excavate and we get rid of our grass and our root mass?
Well, we're certainly not going to be even on grade.
Right, unless your concrete slab was way underneath grade to begin with.
So kind of similar to what we were doing over here.
Right, we're going to have to build that up somehow, and we need to build it up with a compactable fill material, some kind of crushed stone. Now, it's worth noting that we could also use clean stone, right? That's becoming more and more popular, these hybrid installs where you use 3/4 clean stone as your base material and chip as your setting bed material.
And let's just talk about that for a minute, because that clean installation, that free draining base, hybrid installation, becoming very popular. It's a way to keep water as a non-issue, basically.
Right, a lot more free draining. You know, hey, we still have the importance of those drainage holes in a concrete overlay. We need to make sure that we use a permeable fabric like our GF 4.4 non-woven, and we allow for water to escape. But hey, that clean stone can be a great option for your install.
Right, and we'll take a look at that in a little while.
Yep. We're going to lay in a piece of fabric here, right?
Yep.
So what would we do? What would we do with this drainage hole first?
Well, I think we have to put some stone in there.
Right, we don't want just void space underneath here. So we're going to fill in our drainage holes that we core drilled with some pea gravel, some clean stone, make sure it's packed in there nice and tight, and then we need to cover it with fabric to make sure that sand doesn't migrate down into it over time. So we'll cover it with a square of fabric.
So fines would get in there, fill that up, and then it kind of
doesn't drain.
Doesn't make
Plus,
sense
if the
to put
fines
the
are
drainage in
migrating,
there.
then you might have some settlement over time.
Right.
So we're going to minimize that by using fabric. The other alternative is put fabric over your entire slab,
job.
right? So
Which again, if you're in sales, we appreciate that. We want to cover the entire job with fabric.
we could also cover that concrete slab and then continue over the native soils. So we're going to continue over those compacted native soils, that excavation point, and then we're going to bring in that crushed stone or clean stone to build up to meet the same elevation as that concrete slab. So let's put that in there, John. I'm going to level things off a little bit. All right, now if you could get that compactor, let's tamp this down a little bit. So we would make sure that our final compacted elevation of our crushed stone met up with that concrete slab exactly. And hey, John did a great job. We're meeting up exactly with that concrete slab. Now we put in our screed pipe, and we're going to put in our leveling course for Gator Base. Now that leveling course could be sand,
Or chipstone.
ASTM C33, or that chip stone that we talked about, a 1/4-inch chip ASTM number 9 stone. We're going to use some sand in this application because that's what we have handy, and we will dump it in here.
So we've got our typical screed rails, and we're just putting in a setting bed now.
Yep, so we're going to throw this in here. We're going to screed things off real quick. Now, what do we do with this transition point, right? We're going to have a transition from concrete overlay to crushed stone. Does that impact how we're going to lay our Gator Base panels at all?
Certainly going to be a possible weak point where the two meet.
Right,
So-
I've been on many projects, pool decks, patio
Sure.
extensions, where that's just a fault line, and you
Yep.
see settlement occurring on the crushed stone, but not on the concrete.
Very similar to any spot where you can't get good compaction.
Right, so we want to make sure that we bridge that gap with Gator Base, right? Gator Base is designed to distribute load. It's designed to spread that load out over a larger area, prevent differential settlement. So let's use the strengths of Gator Base to our advantage here, right,
So
John?
let me grab some Gator Base.
All right, I got a piece right behind me. Sorry about that. So I'm going to lay it in just like this, right? It fits pretty nicely.
Well, remembering where our line was, I think we want to cross that line.
Right, so you can see our line, our line going from concrete to stone is right here. We don't want that line of the Gator Base to go right there because then the Gator Base panels aren't bridging that gap. They're not distributing that load. We want to make sure that our Gator Base panels run well across that and help to bridge that gap and
Bridging
prevent
that
any
fault
settlement
line.
from occurring.
Right.
All right, so 2 fantastic applications where Gator Base can really get you some job site efficiencies.
Yes.
We're going to turn things over to our friends in Ontario. They've got a chip install screeded out. So they've used that ASTM number 9 stone as their setting bed. They're going to run through the advantages of that chip and talk about some tips and tricks for Gator Base.
Take it away, Jeff and Ryan.
Hey guys, welcome to Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. I'm Jeff Cunningham, and this to my right is
Ryan Zulo from Ottawa, Ontario.
and behind the camera is John Zimmerman. We make up Team Ontario, and we've had the very fortunate pleasure of being on hundreds of Gator-based jobs. I'm a previous hardscape contractor, as is the 2 gentlemen here as well. So we've had boots on the ground with you guys. We understand what you go through, and we built a Gator-based job here, Ryan. And we, as Mike Huber was saying, they work with sand. We're working with chip here,
Right.
and this is obviously very popular in our market. This is, you may have heard of us say it before, HPB. It's only found in Ontario, but it is the same as ASTM number 9 stone. So what are the benefits working with a chip installation?
Yeah, well, once it's screeded out, there's no consolidation or compaction required. And as Jeff mentioned, it's free of fines, so it's draining, so it's not going to trap and hold moisture. So it's going to allow your bedding layer to dry out. And if you're working with it in the spring or late in the season, it's not going to freeze up on you, so it's a lot easier to work with.
That's huge for extending the season, building longer. So that's great. So we got everything prepped. We're ready to go. We've got a bit of the Gator Base already down. We're going to start throwing down some panels here, Ryan. And
Absolutely. Let's do it. So one thing to definitely keep in mind, everybody, is that when you're working with the Gator Base, what you want to do is always have your tongue and groove exposed outwards. You want to work off the tongue so the next or the prior piece is able to receive it. Otherwise, you'd be underlapping the piece, and that's not efficient. Gator Base is all about efficiency, and you want to keep the orientation of the Gator Base going the same way for a quick and speedy install. And the Gator Base goes down very fast. So once you have your screed layer done, the Gator Base goes down in a matter of minutes. And as you're laying, you could almost have guys laying behind you to even go quicker.
So Ryan, we want to stagger these seams because we obviously want these to be all connected, and stagger those joints going to give a lot better, deflection or spread out the displacement with Gator Base. So
Absolutely.
you're going to cut one of these in half to stagger the joints.
Let's cut one right down the middle in half. I will get my screed tool over here, and I will get my knife out. And that's a big question we get is, how do you cut the Gator Base? And it's very easy. We're going to put our speed bar right down the middle of the Gator Base in this orientation. We're going to secure the Gator Base. And we're just going to snap it.
Wow, you're a strong guy. You made that look easy.
So this is our first piece here. That's going to go, and we're going to roll with a full piece again. Nice.
All right. Oh, wrong orientation.
All right.
Nice thing is, if you pay attention to the faces and the orientation when you're laying them, they should all be in the same direction. And Ryan,
So-
this is that piece you cut off.
No waste. We're going to take that piece that we cut, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to use it at the end. And that is our Gator Base pad.
So everything's built now. As we've been in the field talking with contractors over several years, we've learned some things we've never even, talked about in the beginning. So we're going to talk about some best practices and tips and tricks that we've learned from the field. So we're going to roll that video right now. All right, pretty cool stuff, right? Something we get, and you saw right at the beginning of the video, is how to cut on Gator Base. You can't cut through the Gator Base, right?
No, you don't want to cut straight through the Gator Base because if that panel becomes separated, it's no longer holding the project together, right? That's your subfloor for your patio. So how do you cut on Gator Base, Jeff?
Yeah, so it's just as simple as marking depth of cut on your saw. So, depending on what you're working with, we got 60 mil paver or 2 3/8 of an inch thick. You just mark that and make a bunch of marks as you go along the saw. If you did a dozen marks around the saw, and as the saw is spinning, you're going to get a centrifugal black line all the way around there. And that's going to give you reference for depth of cut, and you will not be going through the Gator Base at that point. But did everybody notice we must have had a windstorm during that little brief break?
Yeah, we got a bunch of leaves and debris on
What a
our
mess.
Gator Base now. So what are we going to do?
I mean, if this was a traditional, it's perfect, right? So, nice thing about Gator Base. Let me fire up that blower.
Can we use the blower?
Yeah, I think so. It's a cold day.
All right. That's how you get it done. So now all the debris, all the leaves, they're off our working surface. And now we're going to get ready to lay pavers and slabs. But how do you stay square? Is there any tricks to laying pavers on the Gator Base, Jeff?
For sure there is. I mean, when these things are manufactured, they're manufactured with these grid lines that you can see them. These grid lines serve purpose for mainly drainage,
Yep.
right? They're going to be driving water to the drain holes within the Gator Base. The Gator Base is permeable. We're going to be getting into watching water flow through the Gator Base.
Yep.
But you can use those as reference line for laying square or perpendicular, or even if you've got an inlay that might be changing direction. You can use those as reference points.
Yeah, we got perpendicular, diagonal lines right on the Gator Base that you can follow and stay square with. Otherwise, another cool trick that we learned from being in the field with contractors is snapping a chalk line right on Gator Base. So let's come down here. Hold nice and tight, Jeff.
Yeah. So, nothing's ever square, right? So we're going to pick square to reference point, pick whatever we want.
Now we got a perfectly square line that we chose that we can work off of. And the nice thing now is we want to get ready for, we have a nice day, we have a bad day. The thing about Gator Base is we can work on this surface. No more muddy days. We got a clean, rain-free environment.
Yeah, if it was raining, or even, you know, you saw all those leaf and debris on that around here. If it was snowing and you got snow on Gator Base, you could actually shovel the Gator Base off and hose it down.
That's super cool.
So if it's raining, you can still work. No more rain days, as we call it, right? And just if you want to be a neat freak like me, I guess, and just come out here with a garden hose and hose it all down, get all your muddy debris off from, you know, if you have anything on your boots or maybe some cut dust or whatever, you can just hose all the Gator Base down, keep it super clean. Let's get into a video of showing you what that looks like and the advantages working with Gator Base in the rain.
So right there, guys, you saw the versatility of the Gator Base with all-weather applications. Nice clean site, no stress with muddy boots, and you always have a clean surface to lay pavers and slabs on. So I think with that being said, let's roll into our next video, and then we'll come back after that. All right, so you saw all the elements with staging, sliding, pavers, but these slabs here are only getting bigger and heavier. Typical smaller pavers, 6x13s, you can put those down manually. But if one person like myself was going to start installing 128 pound slabs, I'd have to first awkwardly try and put this in by myself without hurting my back. I'd have to be careful not to pinch the bedding layer or drop the slab into the bedding layer. So with Gator Base, we don't have to worry about that. What do you got over there, Jeff?
I mean, I don't know if I'm sick, and I just love to see you suffering through that. I mean, you are a strong guy, but the nice thing about the evolution of the industry is, you know, synthetic base and all the advantages, but what about working with a vacuum lifter and the benefits of that?
I'm convinced.
Yeah. All right. Let's fire this vacuum lifter up and show everybody the benefits. It's like a perfect marriage, synthetic base, Gator Base, and vacuum lift equipment with these big slabs.
Even before Jeff starts this, even with the vacuum equipment, if we had a typical sand bedding layer or even a chipstone bedding layer, we'd still have to awkwardly try and reach over with the slab to put it down. But with the Gator Base, watch how easy it is.
My back hurts just thinking about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel better already myself.
It's fast.
My back's not sore. We're letting new technology work with other new technology. But Jeff, we didn't get that one exactly perfect, did we?
That's not perfect. I got my steel toe boots on here. You could use a slab or something. Here's another benefit to Gator Base, right? Just kicking it into place. I got those spacer bars lined up just exactly the way I want it. And you can't do that on a traditional base. You can't slide anything in when sand or even open graded chipstone is your setting bed, right?
Oh, we got a cool saying, step, slide, repeat.
Yeah. All right. So, you know, the job's built here, right? So one of the new things that we're talking about now is walls on Gator Base. So we're going to roll into a quick video here, and we're going to show you how to build walls on Gator Base. All right, guys, you saw it in that video. These are the walls. They're all built on Gator Base. We know the benefits of working with Gator Base, right? A lot less excavation, virtually no base materials whatsoever, faster, more efficient installs, and we've been doing that for a long time with patios and walkways in a pedestrian application. But now you can build walls on Gator Base, and even over there, we've got segmental steps built right on Gator Base as well. Everything here is built on Gator Base.
We hope you guys learned something today. Thank you for joining Team Ontario out of Ontario, Canada, and we'll send it back to Mike and John at Gator Studio USA. Take care.
We are back live, Gator Studios. We're going to talk to you about that seat wall application, the fire pit application. It's a great way to seamlessly build your projects without having to do a second crushed stone foundation for your walls.
We've come a long way with Gator Base, haven't we, since day
We
one?
certainly have.
Yeah,
now,
this is
what's
exciting.
the whole idea behind this new seat wall application? Did we just pull it out of thin air?
No, obviously there's a science to it. There's only so much of a load we can put on the Gator Base.
Right, and we've been very comfortable, very successful with that 8 PSI dynamic load.
Right.
Now, dynamic load, what's that mean?
Moving.
Correct, right?
Up and down
Somebody
usually,
stepping
though, when
on
we're
it,
taking
walking
about Gator
across,
Base.
that's a
Right.
dynamic load. 8 PSI, completely fine. Any soil types can support up to 8 PSI. That Gator Base is spreading the load out, kind of that snowshoe effect that
Right.
we talked about in our previous class.
So 8 PSI, 8 pounds per square inch.
Right, 8 pounds per
So
square inch.
144 inches in a square foot?
Hey, hold on there, killer.
No? Come on, I'm getting this down.
For a dead load application,
Oh,
which
all
is
right.
what a seat wall or fire pit would be,
Yep.
we're going to reduce that 8 PSI dynamic load down to a 2 PSI static load. 4-to-1 margin of safety, John.
So Mike is an engineer, in case you didn't know. So this is part of that engineering ease, if you will. We want to make sure it's going to work. So I love that margin of error.
Right, make sure it works no matter what is
Yes.
the real idea.
Right.
So 4-to-1 margin of safety, that backs us down to 2 pounds per square inch of allowable dead load. So
Okay.
back to your example, right?
Yep.
144 square inches in a square foot. What does that mean for us as an allowable maximum dead load?
You said you weren't going to give me these trick
288 pounds, right? 288 pounds per
Yes.
square foot. That's a lot of weight. That's
Ton
a
of weight,
seat
yes,
wall,
yes.
1 foot wide, 18 inches high. Now, that's not going to include your hot tub, your outdoor kitchen. Even paver manufacturers don't recommend those on a crushed stone base, right?
Right. We see lots of paver manufacturers with their kits, their outdoor kitchen kits, their fireplace kits. Really easy to install, already done for you. You drop them in, but what do they say? You need to put them on a concrete pad. They give you a very specific installation.
Correct. That's because those things are heavy. They're massive constructions of either, water or pavers, blocks, granite.
Right.
It's really heavy. So
Yeah.
we need to give a strong foundation. Concrete is usually the answer there.
Even a hot tub. Hot tub comes up a lot in our questions when we're doing these things. You
Yep.
know, can I put hot tub on a, no, too heavy. Once the water's in it, forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. So what can we do? Those seat walls, fire pits too, right?
Sure. And we have a lovely fire pit here.
We do have a beautiful fire pit. So instead of having to plan out where our fire pit's going to go, do a crushed stone base and build our fire pit on that foundation, or coming back later and cutting out the Gator Base and trying to fit everything in,
Yep.
we can make this seamless now, right?
Yeah, I think a very common scenario, someone builds a patio and then the homeowner says, boy, I'd really love a fire pit. Well, now we don't have to go back and dig all that up and we can go right on top.
Right, so that's a huge efficiency,
Huge
right? So
efficiency.
we could put that fire pit directly on top of the patio, or we could put it directly on top of Gator Base if we're building. Now,
Right.
while we're confident that Gator Base is going to support the load, what are we worried about with a fire
Heat
pit?
for sure. Yes, we
Heat.
got to protect that.
Gator
somehow.
Base is a foam material. We don't want to see it melt or catch on fire.
Right.
How are we going to do that? What's our first fire pit scenario here? Metal insert.
Insert.
Right? So we're going to put some sand down to protect the Gator Base itself, and then we're going to put our metal insert in. So let's see, pretend we had some sand here. We dump our sand in the bottom, do about 4 inches. That provides a good thermal break. And then we put our probably 150-pound insert there that John's handling with ease. But we want that to help direct the heat upwards, right?
Right.
All right, second application. What else could we do for a fire pit on Gator Base? we can put that sand in the bottom and then put some concrete pavers in there. So let's show that, right, John? Oh, fire brick. We got fire brick there. My mistake.
We can show fire brick.
So we'd put our sand in the bottom, and we would put fire
brick
brick in there. So fire brick with refractory mortar, also going to help push that heat upwards and protect the Gator Base. So you get the idea. We won't make John do it all. What's our next application? 8 inches of sand, right? That's enough sand to give us a good thermal break, prevent any heat from coming down and damaging that Gator Base.
Right.
Last possible scenario is that fire pit that's built directly on an existing patio, right? You put that directly over the pavers perhaps, and we're going to put at least 4 inches of sand over those pavers or the fire brick. We just have to do something to move that heat upwards, prevent it from going downwards.
So we could have also put our chip stone in there, right?
We could have done chip, we could have done modified stone.
Right.
Realistically, any material that's providing
Gonna give us a buffer.
thermal break and a buffer.
Right.
So great application. Everybody loves fire pits. Now you can do them right on Gator Base.
Again, we've come a long way with Gator Base.
Yep. Next, we're going to talk about a few different reasons why you might want to put sand on top of your Gator Base. You know, a leveling layer on the top of that Gator Base installation to help deal with a couple unique scenarios.
Yeah, I think since day one, we've known that there are products that are different heights. We've had some issues with that.
Right, you might get natural stone, right? Natural cleft bluestone is pretty popular in your market.
Yep, very
and it's
popular.
not perfect. You might be off by a ½ inch piece to piece.
Sure.
We also know that it's not always easy meeting up exactly with the edge of an existing concrete slab,
An existing grade, right?
existing
Yep.
grade, existing
Yep.
step. So you might need some sand on top to help feather in that piece to meet precisely where you want to end up.
Right.
Other application for some sand on top would be that heating element, right? Which is
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, so first application. We're coming up to, say, an existing driveway with a walkway.
Sure.
And, we came up to the existing driveway here, and we're about, I don't know, a ½ inch too low, right?
Our math wasn't so good.
Right. 4 inches top to bottom for a Gator Base install, but if you happen to be a little bit off, it's not the end of the world.
Sure.
We're not pulling up all those Gator Base panels and re-screeding all our
Yep.
base.
Let's say we did lay pavers that far, though, and we didn't notice until we were about a foot away.
You'd want to pull them back 5
Few
feet or
feet.
so and make sure that we taper things in with a little bit of sand to get to the proper height. So, nice and easy. Thank you, John. We'd simply feather out some concrete sand, and we would work our way up to the proper height there. So hopefully this gets us pretty close. Looks
Oh,
like
look
it
at that.
does.
You've done this before.
Yeah, it looks nice, and we would just taper our way back into that field. So
Perfect.
nice and easy. Solves any issues with meeting up with some steps that you pre-built or an existing concrete slab.
And again, these are things that we've done along the way.
Yep.
So we have these jobs in the ground, and they've been very successful.
All right, so how about that heating element? If we were going to install a heating element, why would we use Gator Base?
You know, right away I would think of a couple things. Just if we go back to the beginning of when we started with Gator Base, saying, wow, the thermal capacity of Gator Base, it's like putting insulation in the ground.
Correct. Gator Base is equivalent to 16 inches of crushed compact stone as an insulator. R value is fantastic for a heating element application.
So it's not going to allow the heat to go down into the ground.
Right. Why do we want to direct all our energy to the earth when we could direct it right into that paver, keep that surface warm enough to melt things off,
Sure.
right?
And knowing that most of these heating elements are hooked up to a thermostat, and we want to let them run as little as they can, right?
Correct. So we're going to screed out a thin layer of sand on top of our Gator Base here. Most manufacturers are going to recommend that you put somewhere between a ½ inch of sand underneath your heating element and on top of it. That's going to help prevent any damage to the heating element and provide great contact for thermal conductivity.
So right now, basically, this is just a setting bed that we're screeding out.
Correct. So, all right, we're giving up a little bit of the efficiency of Gator Base by putting a layer of sand on
Look
top
what we're
of it.
gaining, though.
But we're gaining all that efficiency for the long-term use of our heating system, right? So I guess a little bit of a trade-off. All right, so we've got a nice ½ inch layer here. I'm going to pull out my screed rails and fill these in a little bit. So we just fill that in. And now we have a heating element from Proline here, and it's pretty tough, durable stuff. It's a robust mat. We're going to lay it down in place here and get things to situate themselves here. So we would bed this in our sand setting bed layer. We'd come back and do another layer of sand right on top of it.
And I know it seems logical to have this buried. What are the actual?
Well, the whole point of burying this in that sand is to protect the heating element itself and provide full contact of a material along that heating element to conduct the heat to whatever surface
So
we
we
want
don't
it to
have
be
any
on.
air gaps in there where we would lose some of that.
Well, air gaps, not only would you potentially lose some efficiency, but a large enough air gap could actually cause this heating element to short out.
Okay.
So full contact is great. It can be done with sand, as we're showing here, or you could do it with an ASTM number 9 stone, you know, that 1/4-inch chip that we talked about, and they showed you up there in Canada. So once we had things screeded out and evened out, we would go ahead and lay our pavers or natural stone right on top of this heating element sandwich.
Fantastic.
Gator Base keeps that heat moving upwards where you want it, prevents it from going down into the earth.
And again, this is tried and true. These are jobs we have in the ground.
All right, so we'll take that heating element out of here. That last thing we touched on,
Sure.
a regular height material.
Yeah. So we know that manufacturers, you know, they run pavers to a specific standard. Typically, they're really close these days. I know back years ago, we had some issues with heights, but I know now very close, but more and more natural stone getting installed, certainly in the Northeast in my market.
Right, and some natural stone is gauged to a very uniform height, but other natural stone is natural.
Right.
It might vary a 1/2 inch from piece to piece, right? We've got some bluestone here, and I've got a piece that's, it's probably about 1.5 inches thick, and then I've got another piece of bluestone that's probably 1 inch thick.
So Mike, this would be a little bit different than the feathering we showed where we'd want a consistent, some type of consistent height of sand on top of the
Right,
Gator
we're going
Base.
to have to vary our height based on the height of the stone, right?
Right.
Set each one individually, which is a lot of work, but it's no different than a traditional install, and we've saved all that excavation and all that crushed stone foundation.
So theoretically, if we were using 2 pieces like this in a pattern or 3 pieces in a pattern, and we knew exactly that this is gauged to 1 inch and the smaller piece is gauged to 3 inches, could we put that heavier piece right on the Gator Base?
Certainly.
That wider piece?
Yep.
Yeah.
We would definitely want to go right down on the Gator Base with our thickest piece and then add some sand or chip to help level out our thinner pieces. So in this application, you know, we're going to come right up to the edge here, but we could start off the Gator Base. But now what do we do with our next piece? Our next piece is going to be,
Right. So thinner piece, we're going to have to add more sand in there.
Right, so that height becomes a little bit too low. If we bring in some material and we raise that up, we're going to have a much nicer installation with all even uniform heights. So you can do all kinds of irregular natural stone on Gator Base.
Look at that. You've done this before.
Yep, not so bad, right? So we'd bed all of our pieces in, get that height set, successful natural stone install on Gator
Yep.
Base.
Fantastic.
So hopefully you've enjoyed our presentation, a few of the tips and tricks of Gator Base installs. We do these presentations every week.
This was week 7 of
Yep.
our 10 weeks of winter training.
If you go online to our education portal, alliancegator.com/education, you can view all of the recorded content that we've produced. You can sign up for notifications, text alerts when we're going to do more training events. So fantastic. We try to keep things interesting, fast moving, so definitely worth tuning in.
Thanks for watching. If you have any ideas for us, please reach out.
Have a great day.